This is Wilson Morales from Black Women. This is Wilson Morales from Black Women TV talking to LeJon Woods regarding co-writing and starring in The Hangman. How are you?
Fantastic, sir. How you doing today? Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Good. I've seen your stuff, your background, and I'm like, okay, this is his first feature, that has gotten off the ground. How did this come about into not only you co-writing it, but starring in it?
I had worked with Bruce Wimple, the director, on some films previous. I think this is actually my seventh film working with him. And he approached me and said, "Hey, listen, I got an idea for a father that goes on a camping trip with his son, and he loses his son in the process and has to go through the battles and the trials and tribulations to find him." And I fell in love with the concept as it was. And then with it being my first opportunity to have to portray the lead in a feature film, of course, I wasn't gonna pass that up. So again, when he approached me with that, I fell in love with it, and I was just so grateful to be a part of it. I love the journey, and I hope everybody else loves the journey as well.
There's starring in the movie, and then there's co-writing it, and had you had experience to the point where he felt comfortable you co-writing the story with him? Co-writing the story.
I had never co-written before, ever. I never written anything before. It's just he had asked me, well, like I said, when we talked about the premise of the film and whatnot, and the basis of the film, I sprinkled in a little bit of an element of, hey, it's already scary as hell to have a father lose his son anywhere for that matter, in his own town for that matter, but in a deep Appalachian woods. What if we sprinkle in the element of, some locals who are not fond of these two black men being here? And he loved it, and I loved it, and that part, it just made it so much easier to dive into this character, to dive into the story.
When you think about the story, you think about black folks in the woods. It's never a good thing, So when you put this together, people want to see a sense of realism. They don't want to see the type of film where, and I'm just gonna keep it real, where they're like, man, who wrote this? Where they're like, he's running, turning around, like, he's got to have something. You got to have that in you, where like he's fighting back, he's doing what he got to do. So but for you, in terms of the character, obviously as you're starring in it, and this is a horror film, it's a thriller. How much did you have to do to get involved in playing this character so that we, the audience, can feel for him?
Something, being a father made it so much easier to get into that world, to get into that mental space. And putting yourself in that position of, man, really the reality of not having any idea, one, where your child is, and two, being so vulnerable and being so helpless and just feeling worthless and useless, and not for your own child. That's scary. Again, that's scary in your own home, and that's something that I have fears as a father to this very day. And so for the viewers to be able to see him put in a situation where he's in a vulnerable spot, and who can you trust? And it didn't matter who it was or what it was. If you can help this man find his son, then that's the route, that's the path that he was just going to have to take. And putting myself in that mindset and everything, it made it easier to dive into the character. It made it easier to dive into the situation and the circumstance, because it's a scary one. It's a truly scary one. It's one that people have unfortunately experienced in reality, and when you put yourself into that universe, it's tough.
When it comes to horror films, it has its fan base. It's a genre. One of the core things that they want to see is, mayhem and blood.
Yeah.
So like when putting the film together, and you're throwing in those elements, how much is too much or not enough for you?
You know what? I never want to get into anything and do it halfway. What you see as far as Leon being dragged and pulled and pushed and punched and everything else, that's all LeJon Woods. And it means a lot to me. I take the pride in knowing that you're giving it your all to not sell the audience short. So it meant a lot to me to go to the full mile, to go the extra mile, to portray this circumstance for these two men, this father and son, in this realm. So there was and like, for instance, in the gallows where Leon's hanging upside down and everything, we had a safe word. The word was bejabbers. And and if I said bejabbers out loud, that means, hey, we gotta calm this thing down for a second, we gotta take a break or whatnot. But no, I wanted to push this thing as far as it possibly can be pushed to really sell the character and to really sell the circumstance.
You've done your share of projects. Obviously, it's a lead role for you, more to do on a page. Was it a challenge knowing that, okay, everybody wants that shot, whether it's growing up, doing stage theater, doing high school stuff? You've had, like I said, you've had your share of projects, but now you're front and center. Was it ever challenging for you knowing that, like, hey, listen, this is all on your shoulders to sell this movie?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. Every day, always tell like my kids and everything, if if I'm doing a home project and we have to bust out the walls, and if I approach you and say, okay, hey, let's make sure we get that wall, and maybe we can get that wall if we have time. Well, that's the energy is low, and therefore the work might be have the same kind of result. If I was a coach of a team, a football team, and say, hey guys, let's give it our best, instead of saying, hey, we gotta go in there and kill it. That's you thrive off of the energy of the guy who's on top. And I wanted to make sure that my energy each and every single day was to the max to let these people know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes for us to see this thing through. And they match that energy. I'm so grateful for the cast and crew because the result that you see is because people bought in, and I put it on my shoulders, and I do it 20 times again, and it's just I'm just so grateful for it.
Having this movie be a first for you on so many levels, what did you learn out, what did you get out of it moving on to whatever project you do next, whether it be acting wise, writing wise? What's your takeaway?
One of the biggest takeaways was camaraderie. I learned how important it is to have on set and equally important offset camaraderie with everybody, top to bottom, and it allows the work to not be work. When people communicate, when people are on the same page, and even when there's disagreements and things like that, but communication is so key. And that's one of the biggest things I took away from this film. As long as you have those elements, being able to openly and willingly communicate and have camaraderie and being willing to be with your team before action and after cut, you're going to have a product that you can be proud of.
There's a lot of, every time I do interviews on any project, whether it's TV wise or film wise, the one thing I always say is there are a lot of projects out there, especially now since, we've got streamers up to wazoo, so every
Yeah.
week there's a new show coming out or a new film. What is the selling point that's going to get an audience to see Hangman when they've got a gazillion options? I always say it doesn't matter what the reviews are. It's all about the marketing. You still got to let people know this is out here. So what is the selling point to the Hangman? Either, like I said, it's a genre, so you have that core base, but you still got to let them know. And then for those who are not familiar or not into like horror films, but hey, there's a brother starring in it, maybe there's an interest. To you, what's the sell?
But definitely those two aspects that you mentioned. The genre itself is really hot right now. And horror is a really hot topic right now. And a black man lead in a horror film. I know that's interesting, but and I'm grateful for it, truly grateful for it. But I think another selling point with this film is it's such a great ride, and it's such a Leon versus, and it shows. And one thing I love about this film so much is unconditional, unequivocal love between a father and son, and what he's willing to do to get him to gain him back. Um, I hope the audience fully grasps that concept. I hope they fully grasp the hard work that was put into it. And everybody works hard as far as the film is concerned. But with this particular film in general, each and every single character has brought it. And I mean that. There are performances that I will openly say were so much better than mine in this film. And it's one of those things where I just hope they truly take the time, take that 90 minutes and embrace each and every single character within this film, because again, I can't speak enough about the hard work that was put into it, and the Hangman itself. The Hangman is a bad dude, and I think we got ourselves a new character out here that the horror fans are going to enjoy.
Well, I want to say congrats on both levels, behind the screen and in front of the screen. Let's hope there's an audience for this, so that way, we can get more of seeing you do other projects. And all I can say is, hey, wherever you're at, take care. All the best.
Likewise, Wilson. Thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you.